So at 3 o'clock Central Time here on Tuesday, every NFL team had to cut their roster from 90 to 53. And now we're starting to get the word of what those 53 are, and maybe importantly, some of the players that were released that did not make the team, at least initially anyway. I'll hit some of the high points to start because some of the ones that maybe felt obvious or are the more noteworthy players we'll talk about. Obviously, we'll start with Isaiah Foskey. Just a massively disappointing time in New Orleans. He was a second-round pick back in 2023, and he just never made an impact. At points at the beginning of his career, he was a healthy scratch. Last year, he played, barely made an impact. We saw him this preseason, in the first preseason game, take nearly every defensive snap without recording a statistic. He's a guy that was Notre Dame's career leader in sacks, the all-time leader in sacks at a place like Notre Dame, and just could not find a way to be an impactful player on this team. I know there are some people who are cracking jokes, although it might be layered with some degree of truth, when you look at a guy like Zach Bond, who was a third-round pick, could never find his way in New Orleans, goes to Philadelphia, and was a finalist for the NFL Defensive Player of the Year last season. It just took the right team to know how to use him. But this is now across two different head coaches and two different defensive coordinators, from Dennis Allen, who, of course, was the head coach, but also the defensive coordinator, and now Brandon Staley and Foski just couldn't make an impact. So it's a total waste of a second-round pick. When you count on second-round picks to be starters in this league, Eric McCoy was a second-round pick. Marcus Williams was a second-round pick. Roman Harper back in the day was a second-round pick. Michael Thomas, second-round pick. You count on second-round picks to be starters. Von Bell was a second-round pick. You count on those guys to be starters on your team. And you drafted Isaiah Foskey, and it is a total bust, an absolute waste of a top 50 pick in the NFL draft. So Isaiah Foskey, an atrocious 2 seasons in New Orleans, and now, after just 2 seasons, is cut before his 3rd season in the NFL. Jake Haener is the other interesting one who was waived. Not necessarily a surprise from the sense that nobody thought Jake Haener was going to win the job, but Haener was a 4th-round pick, and the Saints walked this road a few years back with Ian Book, where going into his 2nd year as a 4th-round pick, they waived Ian Book, but he was claimed by the Philadelphia Eagles off of waivers. If you're not familiar, when you go on waivers, any team in the NFL can put in a waiver claim for that player. And if they put in a waiver claim, the team who had the worst record a season ago is awarded the player. So it goes 1 to 32 or I guess the 31 other teams with priority. But if a player clears waivers, and by the way, you have to sign that player to the active roster. So if someone were to pick up Jake Haener, they would have to sign him to their active roster, meaning he would take a spot on their 53. That's unlikely to happen. So what could very well happen here is Haener was waived. He will very likely clear waivers and then be signed back to the New Orleans Saints practice squad. Kellen Moore met with reporters on Tuesday and talked about the decision to cut Jake Haener.
The third quarterback spot's a tricky spot, and I got firsthand experience with this third QB position. I've kind of lived that world a little bit. A couple other roster spots, you're always trying to keep 3 in a perfect world, but sometimes you get a little bit short in some other spots that you just need to address. And so, that's the challenging aspect of this. Obviously, Jake has to go through a process now from a claims perspective and all that sort of stuff, but obviously we still think he's got a really good path for us, a really good developmental opportunity here. I think the world of Jake. I've known Jake for a really long time, and so we'll see how that all goes for him on a personal level, and hopefully we'll see it, if the opportunity presents itself for him to get back here.
So they didn't slam the door there, but when you're counting 53 roster spots, every spot is valuable. You have to consider that, and they're doing that here. We'll see if Jake Haener does end up back. The other sort of consequential news for the New Orleans Saints on Tuesday was not a waiver claim, it was a trade. Just days after the Saints traded for wide receiver Devon Vele, sending 2 future picks, a 4 and a 7, to Denver for Devon Vele, the New Orleans Saints have made another trade. Saints traded for Cowboys offensive lineman Asim Richards. We know Will Clapp has gone to IR with injury. Nick Saldiveri, another backup interior offensive lineman, injured. Landon Young also headed to IR. His season is over. So the Saints offensive line depth took a beating, and instead of scouring the waiver wire or free agency, the Saints said, I know what we'll do. We'll just get rid of some future draft assets because that's Gum Smack and Mick's MO. Don't get me started. Or get me started because he deserves to be annihilated for this. The Saints are sending they're sending 2 future picks, a 6th and a 7th, to Dallas for Asim Richards. Here was Kellen Moore on the trade.
We obviously have some connections there with a couple of coaches who were in Dallas, and so there's a awesome opportunity just to get some depth in the offense line. We've navigated this thing a little bit just because of the amount of injuries that have gone in there. He's played a lot of snaps. You know, he's a 2023 draft pick, so he's still young in that sense, and so we feel like we got a really good developmental piece that, if called upon, he's ready to roll and he's ready to go play and contribute. And so, there's a lot of thumbs up and pluses as everyone went through the evaluation process.
So Asim Richards, who was a 5th-round pick in the 2023 draft, as you heard Kellen Moore say there, has played in 21 career games in 2 seasons with Dallas, 1 start. So he's a backup. And the Saints now gave up 2 more draft picks, both 2028 picks. They gave up a 6th and a 7th round 2028 pick for Asim Richards. You wonder how and why the New Orleans Saints continue down the path they're in. This is why. Because you have Mickey Loomis treating his draft picks like monopoly money. It doesn't matter. Send him a few. We'll put a hotel on Park Place. Or in this case, I don't even know a Monopoly analogy because I haven't played Monopoly probably in 30 years. You're putting a hotel on a shanty. Whatever. What's the crappiest spot on the board? You know those first 3 spots on the board in Monopoly, whichever one of those is? You're putting a hotel right there. It's not going to net you anything. Giving up 2 draft picks for a backup offensive lineman feels like you were dramatically overspending when there are undeniably going to be linemen of Richards' caliber that hit the waiver wire, that hit free agency, or at least are comparable. That wouldn't cost you 2 future draft picks. And before you poo-poo 6th and 7th round selections, do you need me to run through the list of 6th and 7th round picks and UDFAs that actually become contributing players? You can't hit on those picks if you don't make the picks. And the Saints continue to do stupid crap like this because Gumsmack and Mick's the worst GM in the NFL. And he is running this organization into the ground. And hopefully Gail Benson recognizes that sooner than later and fires him or moves him into some emeritus role where they allow him to stay in the organization and cut a check, but let someone who's actually competent do this job because Mickey Loomis is no longer capable. I don't know that he ever was. I'll say this. Isn't it becoming clearer and clearer the further removed we are from Sean Payton, who the actual drum major was, who the guy was that was calling the shots and was making all the decisions, the one responsible for the success? For all that everybody was like hand-waving Sean Payton when he left, y'all ready for Sean Payton to leave? Go to Denver. Get out of here. Okay, it's time. It's time to move on. Learn something new. Oh, really? What if we took a poll today of Saints fans? Would you take Sean Payton back today? Let's do that poll. Would you take Sean Payton back today? Yes or no? Saints fans, would you take Sean Payton back today? Yes or no? We'll put the poll up on Twitter. You can email me, tweet me, or text me as well. 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Would you take Sean Payton back today? Watch those numbers pop. In any event, as you look at the rest of the roster of note, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was released, but we talked about that with Ross Jackson. That's a very likely scenario where both Velus Jones and Devin Neal made it. They were probably protecting some of their young guys from waivers. Clyde, as a vested veteran, is a free agent, so he chooses where he goes. This will very likely be a thing where Clyde re-signs the practice squad and then ultimately will be added to the active roster and will be active on game days. I fully expect that. The Saints did keep initially 6 wide receivers: Olave, Shaheed, Cooks, Tipton, Vele, and Cedric Wilson, interestingly enough. The 2 tight ends they kept, aside from Juwan Johnson, Jack Stoll, and the 7th-round pick, Maliki Mataval. interesting that both Jacobson and Trayton Welsh were waived. We'll see if those guys can clear waivers. Torricelli Simpkins III, the rookie from South Carolina, has made the team. Then, of course, Asim Richards, who was acquired via trade. Defensively, Chris Rumpf, probably not a surprise there that he made the team. Fadil Diggs and Jashin Davis were waived. It'll be interesting to see if the Saints can get those guys back on the practice squad. No doubt they'll hope to do that. I don't know that there was anything necessarily that was surprising otherwise. So we will keep an eye on it. We always say it's the first 53, not the final 53, because you have over 1,000 players that became free agents in one day. So you look at the waiver wire, you look at who's available in free agency, who might be able to upgrade your roster at certain positions, then you make those decisions as you move forward. But the Saints have their first 53 set, and as that evolves, we'll continue to talk about it right here. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.